If it's any solace to any sports moms listening out there, at least in my experience, I have many memories that I could rattle off the top of my head of when my mom said something to me that flipped my attitude, set me on a better path, a tool or trick that I could use to get out of my own head or something that made me feel better. But I'm having a really hard time thinking about those times where maybe things didn't go so well.
Welcome to Sports Mom Rapport, where we support and connect with moms of athletes while sharing helpful advice from each other and some guest experts along the way. This is Tara.
And I'm Destiny. Thank you for joining us as we highlight you incredible moms.
I am super stoked to get to share a conversation with one of my own daughters, Leah Clapper. Leah offers an amazing perspective as a student athlete to share with all of us. My awesome co-host Destiny takes the lead and heads up the talk with Leah today. I'm so proud of Leah. Prepare to be inspired.
In today's episode, I have the honor of speaking not with one Clapper, but with two Clappers, Leah Clapper and Tara Clapper, my favorite podcast co-hosts. Leah, my love, your resume is quite impressive.
Thank you.
May I brag on you for a minute?
Go for it.
So I hear that after completing your undergraduate degree in advertising from the University of Florida in 3 years, that you quickly began 2 separate master's degrees in entrepreneurship and mass communication. You did all of this while being a collegiate gymnast, winning multiple SEC awards, founding NIL Island, and studying abroad. Does that all sound right?
It does. Yes. It's still crazy to me how much that I got to do in my 5 years being a student athlete at University of Florida. And I'm just really thankful for the experience.
Quite impressive. I'm trying to figure out why we haven't hired you to run our entire Sports Mom Report podcast. I think
she's been trying a little bit to pull some tips and tricks out of me, but you guys are doing an amazing job and I love getting to see that.
Oh, thank you. Well, in all seriousness, Leah, you are a rock star, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today. It'll be extra special to hear from both of you, to hear about your athletic journey, how you navigated life as a college athlete, and how your mom influenced your career. So, Leah, tell us about yourself, your upbringing, and how you came to become a college athlete.
Well, I have to give full credit to my mom and my dad for that one, I think, because when I was a toddler, I was just really energetic. I don't remember it at all, but I hear stories about rolling off the couch and walking around the top of a kiddie pool, doing things like that. And so probably the first time I ever set my foot in a gym when I was just 1.5 years old, parent and taught class, I really never looked back and just started to fall in love with the sport and flipping. And I think one thing led to another. I think by elementary school, I knew that I wanted to be an NCAA gymnast. I knew I wanted to be an elite gymnast. I had no doubt in my mind that I could do those things, which being a 7-year-old with no doubts that I could do those things is kind of funny because I was so far away from it. But I think that naive confidence probably fueled me really far and being able to keep the love for the sport. And that's a huge testament to my coaches and my parents and my sister for keeping the spirit alive and just having a good run that allowed me to stay motivated and get to the level that I wanted to be and accomplish a lot of the goals that I had in gymnastics.
Thank you. So in your own words, share with me what the sport of gymnastics has meant to you.
Oh, that is such a good question. I think, honestly, I identify so much with gymnastics throughout my whole life, and it's been a really interesting transition this past almost 1 year. It's been about 10.5 months since my last real gymnastics competition, which feels so insane. It's been strange not practicing gymnastics every day and thinking about it as much as I used to because it was pretty much my whole life in addition to school growing up. It's so cliche, but it made me who I am. I think that all of my goals leading up to this past year had been related to gymnastics. It really just kind of drove my life's purpose for the first 22 years of my life. I'm really glad that I got to have that experience and have something that I always had a North Star goal for. something bigger that I was always working towards, that I was really passionate about. I really do just see it as a hobby and extracurricular activity that just kind of became my entire passion and like identity for many years. But I think it really taught me a lot about hard work and dedication and what it takes from a focus perspective and all of that good stuff to accomplish things that you want to accomplish. So I think that hopefully will have a big impact on the rest of my life. I have no doubt it will, but really a fun sport. And I'm glad that I think I picked the right one. I don't think that I'm built for any other sport better than I'm built for gymnastics. I just love it. I think about it every day still, even though I'm not in the gym.
What I'm hearing from you is how quickly you decided that gymnastics was a sport for you, and it truly became not only a sport for you, but just part of who you are. And now that you are a retired gymnast, you will take the qualities that you got from the sport of gymnastics into your adult life, which you're starting on now. Tara, how would you say that you've seen the sport of gymnastics shape who Leah is today?
Everything that she said, it has really just entered all parts of her life and her time management, achieving goals, and not getting deterred by difficult things. She is such a positive person. And I feel like watching her compete and work through difficult times in gymnastics when you're not getting a skill, or you got a skill and then it's not coming to you anymore, working through that and knowing you can do anything. She is just remarkable young lady, remarkable daughter. It is definitely a beautiful part of who she is and has helped shape her and being able to do all the amazing things that she does.
It's lovely to hear from both of your perspectives, Leah, from the athlete perspective and how your sport impacted your life. And then Tara, obviously, from the parental perspective and navigating stuff along the way with Leah and getting to see her mature into who she is today. I love that, having both of you on today just to hear the different sides of it, to glean some wisdom for sports moms. Moving forward, share with me the role your mom played in your success, both academically and athletically, Leah.
I think the first word that comes to my mind is supporter. I just knew that she would always be there to pick me up when I was feeling down or going through a tough time and continue inspiring me and motivating me when things are good in a way that didn't put extra pressure on me. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself in everything, and I'm really grateful that my mom and also the rest of my family, my dad, my sister, recognize that I am holding myself to a high standard already. And so having external pressure of, you're going to do this, you got it, like keep pushing, that kind of stuff. It's all the things that I just said are super supportive, but like I never felt that I wasn't going after a goal or working hard for something that wasn't fully intrinsic to me. And it was more something that my parents wanted for me. And I'm just really glad that my mom was just able to be such a great supporter and still is for everything that I do in life. And I'm so grateful for that, in a way that encourages me and lifts me up without putting any of that extra pressure on me, because I honestly don't know if I would have been able to handle that, because I already put so much pressure on myself. And so I think that was a really good dynamic that worked for me. And just from a more tactical perspective of, every day when I came home from the gym, just, how was practice? And just sitting there and listening to whatever venting that I had to do about having to do 5 extra beam routines, or the excitement that I had about getting closer to a new skill or catching a release on bars, or, whatever it may have been from a day-to-day basis, just sitting there and listening and not asking too many extra questions if I didn't want to talk about things. And if I was like, you know what, it wasn't great, I don't want to talk about it, just leaving it at that and changing the conversation to literally anything else, and allowing me to have that space to separate home and gymnastics and the other things that I'm doing. Just having a mental deep breath after practice, I think that always was helpful for me. And, another role that she played, still in the supporter role, just a great reminder to look at the big picture. I think this was especially true in college, when maybe I was frustrated about not making a lineup when, I'd been working really hard for something and put in a ton of work and didn't get to compete, things like that, or coming home from a frustrating performance and not knowing if I'd get to do it the next weekend, if I was going to be in the lineup or not. I feel like she always acted as a great reminder of, look how far you've come. You deserve this. You deserve to be here. You have been working super hard. Like, it will pay off. Maybe not in the way you think that it will be or the exact way you want it to, but like, your hard work is not going to waste. And like, wow, okay, you're in a really cool place. Competing for one of the top teams in the country at an amazing school, something that I've always worked for many years. And so I think having that perspective that's like a little bit more detached from the day-to-day roller coaster of training as a college athlete was really helpful.
That makes complete sense, because I'm sitting here thinking about the podcast, and obviously this is Sports Mom Rapport, but to hear from your perspective and really validating that the things that we do as sports moms, I think sometimes we second guess, like, did we say the right thing? Did we encourage enough? Even if our nerves were present, did we hide them for our kiddos? Just, are we doing the right thing and painting, like you said, a big picture perspective for them? And I think sometimes we can second guess that. So I'm sure, Tara, you probably feel that that's so affirming to hear that there are times when obviously our kids, we know they need us, but did we handle it the right way? And so I love hearing that from your perspective. And I think it will help a lot of sports moms navigate encouraging, supporting, giving the big picture to our athletes.
As I've gotten older, I've realized more about the amazing ways that she's handled some of the things that came up throughout my gymnastics career. And especially as my sister, being about 4 years behind in a similar journey of growing up in the gym and now being a college athlete, it's kind of hard to support other people and let them do their thing while also trying to be that encourager. I feel like I really lucked out in that regard. I have so much more respect for what you guys do as supporters and number one fans, because I didn't really think about any of that stuff, like how other people really impact your journey. And of course, not everything that, my mom said after a practice or a meet or something was like the most perfect thing that I needed to hear in the moment, but like a 75% hit rate of that made better is like, really, really incredible. And so I think that as athletes, we need to give more grace to you guys and realize that, like, okay, yes, our sports career we're the ones going through it. Like, it's not necessarily the hardest for us, but that doesn't mean that it's not a difficult journey for the other people that are adjacent to it as well. And especially coaches. I think that's like an interesting perspective shift. And that's why I'm really interested to talk today about all this stuff, because I know what my point of view was, but what was it for my mom's?
I think you hit the nail on the head in just saying, and we would be remiss not to talk about Lily, because she's an incredible gymnast as well and a Division I athlete and paving her own path. The example that your mom set gave you the opportunity, I feel like. And like you said, we don't always say all the right things all the time. We try. But I think your mom set a beautiful example, and now you fully understand, and then you can be that support for Lily. You can in turn say, hey, I've been in your shoes, but also I haven't been in the support role. And now you can be a better supporter because of seeing, and not just your mom, but also seeing your dad's example of being a support throughout your journey. And I think it's really cool that you have that hindsight now to say, okay, what role am I going to step into in supporting my sister and her collegiate path, then also have the appreciation for the support that your mom gave. I love that. So switching gears, Tara, are you crying yet?
I am very touched, and it warms my heart hearing you say all these things. I'm far from perfect. I know I didn't say all the right things at the right times, but I love how you say a 75% hit rate. Hey, nobody's perfect. I'm glad that you recognize I did the best that I could at the time given. And I love that you appreciate it. It makes me feel really good that you didn't feel that pressure, because I know you're a super high achiever, as is your sister. And I don't think that they ever need any extra pressure other than what they're putting on themselves. It's already tough enough with their coaches and all their high standards. I love that you have such an appreciation too, and you're such a great supporter and example for your sister. She's always looked to you and come to you for most anything. And I love the closeness that you guys have. Tell me what your question was, Destiny, because now I forgot.
I don't know if I asked it. I was going to ask you to just share a fun memory of Leah growing up, whether it's a gymnastics memory or just a fun memory that you have of her as a little one.
So many fun memories. Gymnastics related, what's coming to mind at the moment is when she qualified to a TOPS camp, which was for little ones. And the reward was getting to go to Texas to train at the Bella Caroli camp with all the national trainers. And she was 8 years old and she was my firstborn. And she was a little 8-year-old. She was still in a booster seat.
I was not 4 feet tall yet.
Oh my goodness.
There was so much preparation that I did to let my baby go just with her coach because they told us the parents shouldn't come. They're not allowed to any of the practices. We'd have to stay really far away because it's out in the middle of nowhere. We wouldn't get to be a part of it at all. So they discouraged us from coming. So goodness, I recorded songs and lullabies and words for encouragement on an MP3 player for her, and she had her booster seat, and she was,
of course you did.
Her coach was so overwhelmed with all the instructions I gave her, but she was just so independent and so proud going out there, 8 years old, going on the other side of the country all by herself, so brave. She's just always been extremely independent and confident. I'm thinking of another time too. This was when she was a little older, the elite qualifier in Las Vegas when she qualified to get to compete in the classics. That was just so exciting. She was not having a good bar warm up, which was not unusual for her because a lot of times she didn't have a good bar warm up at this particular time. There were just so many skills and it wasn't looking promising. But she went up there. I remember Valerie Lukin was right there, standing right there, watching the whole thing. And she just nailed it. And it was just breathtaking. And she qualified to be an elite. And her coach almost passed out because she didn't even calculate everything right. And once she realized that
exact score. So just to jump in,
right
score that was like fully felt unreachable to me. There was no way I was going to get this score on bars because I had typically scored like a 10 point something and I needed a 13.3, which if you don't know what gymnastics scoring is, a 3-point difference is equivalent to like 3 falls. So it was like way, way higher than I had ever gotten before. And yeah, it was like the worst bar warm up ever. I don't think I warmed up probably 75% of the skills that I had to do in the routine. And I ended up somehow pulling it out and I got the exact score, like to the dot that I needed to qualify as an elite gymnast, which was like the biggest goal that I had ever set at the time. So it was just insane when that score popped up on the board and I knew that I was going to get to go compete as an elite. I'll let you finish telling the story. I just wanted to
No, that's great.
The exact score.
That's right. You got the and that was your last event. We're like, oh, how's this gonna happen? She just did it. And it is so quiet in that room. They don't cheer like they do in NCAA gymnastics or even at regular club meets. You could hear a pin drop. It was in this carpeted ballroom. Everybody's quiet. There's really no clapping. We just screamed so loud and cheered. So, like, we need to celebrate. It was so exciting.
Like, who are those people over there?
We
see the bravery that came out of that.
There's one more story. Do you want one more story? One other thing that comes to mind about her gymnastics is her refusal to fall off of beam. So she was at the classics that she qualified to in Hartford, Connecticut. Was this at classics or this? Oh, this is P&G's. This was
it was like it was a little bit later, but it was the biggest meet of my life. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, out in LA, she had a bit of a fall on beam, but she wouldn't let herself fall. She just koala beared that beam and climbed back up. Just her determination. She's such a fighter. She always would go back on if anything happened and clear it from her mind and not let it set her back. Her determination is absolutely incredible.
That was a pretty funny story. I laugh every time I watch the video because you just see me like face plant on the beam and then spin under it, but never actually touch the floor. Like koala bear back up. But
They turned her into a meme, I think.
it did go a little bit viral on the internet. Not crazy viral, but some people saw it, which was funny. And I think I was laughing the rest of the beam routine, like, oh my God, that was
Did I just do that? Yeah.
I will give the caveat of, am I actually able to clear things from my mind after mistakes? And I think sometimes, yes, but most of the time, no. And I think that is one of the hardest things to work through as an athlete from a mental perspective. The amount of mental training that we did throughout my club gymnastics career and college career to be able to move forward from mistakes and refocus and jump back on the track that you want to be on without putting any focus in the past and staying present and just doing what you need to do in the moment is so hard. And I think that is one thing that my mom was really good at reminding me about throughout my career. If it's a tough meet, you'll get it next time. Like that doesn't define you. That was just how it went today. You can't change it. Got to focus on the things you can control. And you know what that is getting back in the gym tomorrow and just doing the normal thing and learning from your mistakes and moving forward. So I'm grateful to have that perspective from her and also from coaches. Because it's really easy to beat yourself up.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. Think about how often you wake up in the morning and then the day just doesn't go the way you thought it was. You look at your calendar, you've got all these things planned, and then it's like, wait, somewhere it just gets jostled and then things happen. And at the end of the day, you're like, let's start over tomorrow. So you think about how much that determination and having to go forward through mistakes in athletics, just it translates into real life. That you just have to just keep going. And it's not always going to be, what do they say? Sunshine and rainbows? No,
I
butterfly. What do they say?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Sunshine
one of
and
those good
rainbows and
things.
butterflies. It reminds me though of something I heard recently. I don't remember where this came from, but instead of saying, oh, I'll do better tomorrow, or I'll start that new workout routine next week, or today is wasted because, you know, I was planning on not eating desserts and I had like one M&M and now I'm just going to like totally ball out and eat all the cake. It's really easy to get into those patterns of, okay, I'm like slightly off track of where I wanted to be. And so I'm just going to give up on everything and start over another day. But like really what the best thing to do, you can manage it. It's so hard, but it's like we start over now. Like it starts now. If you say you're going to do it next week, are you really? Like, if you start now, you probably will. And there's usually nothing ever holding you back. When it's 10:30 a.m. and you're like, wow, today is just one of those days. It's a bad day. Like, I'm in a bad mood today. Tomorrow will be better. It's like, no, 10:31 a.m. We have a good attitude now. What's going to happen the rest of the day? We don't know. But like flipping it right away, I think, is something that gymnastics taught me. And I am terrible at embodying it in my everyday life now, but you know, you just got to try.
Yeah.
I actually think you're really good at embodying it because you hold me to that. When I say an idea of something, you're like, well, start it now. Like, why don't you do that now? I do think that you embody it better than you think you do. 75% of the time, right?
75% hit rate.
Thanks. Yeah. And one thing I did want to add to that piece of the 75% hit rate before that I thought of was, if it's any solace to any sports moms listening out there, at least in my experience, I have many memories that I could rattle off the top of my head of when my mom said something to me that flipped my attitude, set me on a better path, a tool or trick that I could use to get out of my own head or something that made me feel better. But like I'm having a really hard time thinking about those times where maybe things didn't go so well. And like what she said was like, that's not helpful. Actually, that's not what I needed to hear. Now I feel worse. I'm sure that happened, but like in hindsight, I don't remember it. What sticks with me is the times that it was like, wow, okay, that was helpful. That was, really supportive. So I just wanted to put that out there.
No, that's perfect segue actually to the next question, because I was going to ask, were there any challenges that you encountered along the way that were really hard at the time, but turned out for the best?
During my sophomore year at University of Florida, I was having a bit of a confidence issue in that I'd competed some my freshman year and done pretty well. I thought I had more potential to make lineups my second year. I had a great preseason, and I had some mistakes at the beginning of the season on beam and got pulled out of the lineup and was just feeling really frustrated and motivated. Like I had that fire to get back out there, but like I wasn't getting the chances that I wanted to. I think that was a tough time. Like, I mean, things could have been so much worse, but like it mentally is hard when you're in a situation like that. I knew that I needed to have good attitude and pick myself back up and just keep working harder in order to get out of that funk. And I needed it was, that kick in the butt to, okay, well, you have to prove yourself. That fire to prove myself and prove my coaches, honestly, is what I tactically needed to do, that I was ready. That turned out to be what I needed to like get to that next level of being confident, being prepared, being a trustworthy athlete that my coaches wanted to put out in the lineup. I think that was kind of a turning point in my college career of knowing what really I needed to show in the gym. And I remember specifically through that time having a few emotional breakdowns and my mom telling me, she asked me a question. She's like, well, do you think you should be out there? I'm like, yeah, like I wish I was. She's like, no, like say it with conviction. Yes. And she made me like look in the mirror and give myself personal affirmations. And, it sounds silly, but like that kind of stuff makes a huge difference. And when you make that mental flip in your mind, it can go a really long way. And so her reminding me to say like, no, I got this. I deserve to be here. I am good at beam. I'm consistent. I am confident. And even though I did not believe those things at the time, like just starting to say those things to myself, fake it till you make it type of mentality. And it wasn't fake. It was fake it till you make it works only if you have the practice and something to substantiate it and like the hard work that can support you in that. I think adding that mental piece on top really helped. And I know that's more of a like an everyday struggle, like nothing like huge traumatic event or anything. But looking back, that was a huge turning point, even though it was just like such a small flip in my mind.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I am noticing also how creative you are. Looking at your website and your resume, you have co-founded many things. You co-created Shine Creative. Where would you say your creativity comes from? And then also, can you share with us a little bit about the Shine Creative and that initiative and how it came about?
Yeah, well, the first question, I'm not sure where my creativity comes from. It has to be partly genetic, at least. Honestly, the Shine Creative piece of it was a product of being bored during quarantine. So, sometimes I feel like you get most creative when you're bored. To give a little context, Shine Creative is a company that I co-founded with my longtime gymnastics coach, Claudia, who owns Gym America in Michigan, where I trained. We created a gymnastics board game and have like a website where we sell the game and have hopefully gotten to put smiles on thousands of gymnasts' face across the country who have played the game since we launched it. That project has been super meaningful for me because it's a way that I get to share a message of playfulness in sport. And I think that the number one thing that allowed me to be successful in gymnastics was being able to continue loving the sport for as long as I did. Being able to go after big goals like becoming an elite gymnast, getting a scholarship to college, while still prioritizing having fun in the gym. I just found that if I wasn't having fun, I was not as successful. And you get frustrated, you get in slumps. Being able to create a game, which is something that, hopefully makes a practice a little bit more fun and the beam workout a little bit less daunting and a little bit more competitive and cheerful, and working together with your teammates and getting out of the ordinary routine of, it's easy to have the same beam assignment every single day and switching it up, and being able to share that experience with so many gymnasts while also gaining all the knowledge that I learned about little things about starting a business has been a really cool experience.
It's so neat. So the creativity, the determination, the playful side, all of that culminates into the amazingness that you've been able to accomplish. I looked at also your NIL Island website and know that that's something that you founded, and I'm super excited to hear more about that. So could you explain to us what NIL Island is and why you thought it was necessary to create?
Yeah, so for a little bit of context, in 2021, rules changed that allowed student athletes to accept endorsement deals for the first time. Before that, you would lose your NCAA eligibility if you accepted sponsorships. And so athletes in college became able to do sponsorship deals and like social media partnerships, make money from signing autographs, start businesses that are tied to their name, image, and likeness as an athlete. By the way, that's what NIL stands for, name, image, and likeness, and is kind of the term used to describe all of that. When those rules changed, it was a really confusing time for athletes. I myself knew I wanted to take advantage of the new opportunities that were available to me, but at first I felt like I wasn't having any help because big name athletes could get agents. I had a small social media following and people didn't necessarily know me. I felt that there was missing resources for the athletes that were in a similar situation as me, like excited about this new rule change and had no idea where to start. And so it actually started as my capstone project for my master's in mass communication and just kind of evolved into so much more. But the idea behind it is to help student athletes get better at NIL and figure out how to get started in this space. I've really enjoyed getting to work on that. Basically what it is a website and like newsletter and social media pages that have free resources for athletes to learn how to get better at everything related to building their brand on social media and getting NIL deals or pursuing any other NIL opportunities.
Yeah, so you turned something that was a challenge for you into positivity and to be a resource for other athletes, and it will carry along for a long time, I hope. That's really cool.
I hope so really too. Neat. And it's been fun to see how schools have been able to step it up as well in terms of the resources that they're able to provide for their athletes. But that being said, that's not the case across the board. Some schools have way more resources than others, and there's still a big gap in helping those lesser known athletes get their foot in the door in NIL. And that's something that I want to be able to have an impact in, because it honestly changed the trajectory of my career and has been so impactful. Like I wouldn't be doing the job that I'm doing now if it weren't for the NIL rule shift and all the things I've been able to do since then, like through my brand on social media and stuff like that.
So true. Yeah, I heard that you were now embarking on a project with ESPN, the ESPN Creator Network, which I have no idea what that is. I'm excited to hear about it. But now that you've kind of embarked on this post-collegiate, post-athletic journey, how has that transition felt for you?
Ooh, that's a great question. It's been really interesting because now my full-time job is working for a venture capital company doing content creation, and it's been super fun and I love it. I kind of went from being fully immersed in the world of being a student athlete to now being immersed in the world of investing in entrepreneurship, which is there's a lot of similarities in some ways, but it's just a fully different industry. And I'm not thinking about gymnastics, every hour of the day anymore. That's like totally new for me. I feel like I'm in a fully new era, new chapter of my life, and I get to kind of not start over in a way, but like design my life in a new way that fits for me, because everything that I had ever known for 22 years just kind of flipped. I was a student and I was an athlete doing gymnastics, and those two things both ended right around the same time. And now it's like, okay, well, how do I want to live my life? What do I want to do next? There's so many possibilities, and that's like really exciting of the whole world being open, but it's also scary because you're like starting anew. In that way, I feel like I've been really open to trying new things and having new experiences and just really trying to live in the present. I think my whole life I'd been so future oriented. Everything, was very regimented towards the goals that I was working towards in gymnastics from a long-term perspective as well. Like I was thinking about becoming a college gymnast since middle school and really working towards that. Having those short and long-term, like clear-cut goals was really great. And I kind of missed that. But not having like short or long-term goals in a way has opened me up to just enjoying the moment and just making the most of every single day and just taking it one day at a time. I think a year ago now, I still had absolutely no idea what I was going to do the day after season ended. I was like, what is going to happen? Like, I don't know what I'm going to spend my time doing. I want to do something that's awesome, but I have no idea what it is. That was a really weird feeling. Just made me think, okay, well, don't know what's next, so might as well enjoy this now. And I feel like I've been able to embody that lesson. Is so simple, but being present. I'm still looking for like, what is that next big goal that I'm going after? But for now, I'm like prototyping different things athletically and professionally a little bit as well, of thinking like, okay, I'm in a really good spot now. I enjoy what I'm doing. It's been amazing. Like I feel so lucky, but I don't know what I want to do in 10 years, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to sit with that and like keep thinking about where I might want to go next without putting too much pressure on it, like right at this time, has been weird, but I think good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And a new thing of not having everything planned out. The other piece that I will add is I was like extremely structured as a student athlete. Of course, you can't like just book a random trip to wherever on a weekend because you miss practice or a meet or just can't do stuff like that. And always got to go to bed at this time and get up at this time and be disciplined and regimented. And, I think there is a time and a place for that. And it's so important in being disciplined, but it's like been a new life of not necessarily having all of that. And getting to experience some things that, sacrifices I'm so glad that I made, but like missed out on in a way. And like just, being able to go and buy a flight for somewhere in the middle of March, like it's a really weird feeling. But that being said, I think I would have been extremely lost and confused and not sure what to do with my time if it weren't for kind of falling into the job that I did. Like I literally think I started working for the company I work for now the day that I moved out of Florida. I remember taking my first meeting on Zoom, driving home from Florida to Michigan and starting my job that day. That was a little bit tough. It was really hard to unpack while I was starting a new job. And I think my mom was starting to go a little bit bonkers about having all the boxes in the basement. And I'm like all stressed out about this new role that I'm like excited for, but was like, why did I start today? That was a small thing, but like literally starting then and having no downtime of just being flaunting around and having no idea what I was doing with my life and like floating would have been really bad for me. And so jumping into something else that had intense structure of like, okay, yeah, every day at 11 a.m. I'm having this meeting. I have all these weekly things that I'm doing for my job was so helpful from a perspective of like, okay, well, I have a new purpose for now. I've got structure. I'm going to fill in the other things that are really important to me in life, like working out and putting some fun in there, getting outside, things like that was really good. So it was like from one structure to a different structure, but like just trying to enjoy everything and not forget. Let's figure out what those bigger goals are next. And I know that was an extremely rambling answer, and I will probably have a different one in a month from now, but like, it's sometimes fun to see the evolution of like where you're at. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Having a husband who's a former college coach, I know it from the other side, but hearing how I know that it's oftentimes difficult for athletes who, in somewhat of a way, have identified, like you said, so much of your identity is in the sport that you do. And then when all of that ends and you're embarking on this new journey of adulthood, it can be a little bit confusing, but you're right. You took the structure from one and the skill set that you developed between having a schedule and all of that, and you can apply that to your career now. But it's also a little bit freeing, is what I'm hearing. Like you can just schedule trips and have a good time. And I think you have an appreciation for that now because that hasn't been what it's always been for you. So you can just kind of do new things and take new adventures and travel but you wouldn't be able to probably enjoy that as much had you not spent so much time in your sport developing the skills that you've developed to be able to have a successful career and have fun with it now.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I was going to ask too, Tara, this is making me think about how your role shifted then. How has your role shifted from being like hands-on, extremely supportive, obviously being with her every day in her child rearing years, and then going to, she's in college and she's not directly with you, but you still have that supportive role. How does it look now for you being a sports mom, but to an adult who has a career?
Yeah, I would say that it's just much more chill. Obviously, I still have one in college, but it is a lot more chill. I'm obviously not running around. Now I'm not having to make sure that the meals are prepped for this time and making sure everybody's packed for another time. And the traveling, this is our first year that we are not dividing and conquering. We spent many, many years dividing and conquering, as many sports moms do. Definitely more chill. The support is similar, though. I just always want to be here to listen. I don't feel like there were many other needs from me while they were in sports other than being supportive and listening and giving encouragement when needed. And I feel like that goes along with life too. My daughters just trump everything else. So when they call me and they want to talk, then I'm here for them. That's the role that I feel like I play now. I'm just very proud of them being so independent and so self-reliant and self-motivated, but I'm just always here to listen. So things are more chill. The fridge isn't stocked like it usually is and not getting nearly as many miles on the car, but always here to listen.
That word support is just ringing, emanating from this call. It's just be supportive, stand proud for your kids, listen when they need you to listen, and help them evolve into who they're created to be. And I love that. What would you say, Tara, also to you? What is your proudest moment? Not even moment. Let's say, what are you most proud of Leah for?
I am so proud of her just in so many ways. It's hard to choose just one. I am super proud of her positivity and her mindset. Like she mentioned, that didn't come necessarily easy. She did a lot of work on herself mentally to move past anything that may have held her back. But in general, she's just been a very positive person. She doesn't let little things get her upset, or at least she doesn't show it. And she moves on. She makes the best of the situation. If she had something go on while she was performing and it wasn't perfect, she's not a teammate that's going to sit sulking in the corner with her arms crossed while the rest of her teammates are performing and finishing off the meet. She's there cheering and moving on, making the most of each moment and each situation. So I really just love her positivity and her mindset. Super inspiring. Leah's a doer. she doesn't just talk about doing something. She has like visions and goals and ideas that are just always coming to her. Like you mentioned, she's so creative. So
Mhm.
she goes after them and she gets things done. She doesn't sit
I'm
back.
telling you, it's so evident in everything that she's done. Leah, to be your age and to have accomplished all that you've accomplished, it's like round of applause. Literally amazing. It's so incredible. And Tara, you should be so proud. Not just because of the accomplishments, and I would say not just because of the checklist, but because of who she is. Like you said, she is positive and she's a doer and she's going to cheer on her teammates. Those are the things that I would say that athletics instills such good, strong values in our athletic children. And they carry that for so long as they embrace the true character of athletics. All of that to say, I would love to hear, Leah, from you, what advice you have for sports moms. You have an exemplary sports mom and Tara here, and I've loved hearing from both of you and just the different perspectives. But I would love to hear any advice that you have for our listeners that are going through this journey with their athlete children and any way that they can come alongside their athletes.
Well, first of all, thank you both so much. You guys are making me feel so good over here. As far as advice, I don't think that I'm necessarily qualified to give advice, not having played the role of a sports mom, but I can give my perspective on what helped me the most. And I think that is that piece we've talked about a lot today is the listening and figuring out what I need. What I need from a support perspective is really different than what my sister needs. Even though we're similar in a lot of ways, there is so much contrast in the ways that we like to be supported. I'm sure it's really hard to figure out what is the right way to approach situations and support people. But like the fact that I was able to go after the goals that felt intrinsic to me, not my parents, not my coaches, not my teammates, what I really wanted, and getting support in that way and never feeling like I was at odds with what I wanted to do versus what my parents wanted me to do. And like having the absence of that conflict, I think was really wonderful for me being able to accomplish the things that I've done. The advice that you could discern from that is let people go after their goals and support them in it. And you can't force somebody to want to do something that they don't want to do. And so just listening and figuring out what do they need to go after, like what they're really passionate about, as long as it's, not something that's going to ruin their life, which, that could be a different conversation. But I think that would be the best advice that I could be unqualified to give.
That's great advice, actually, even though, haven't experienced being a sports mom yourself, but recognizing who our children are and that each of them is unique in their own special way. And whether it's through athletics or the arts or something academic that they embark on, robotics, I think it's just for us to understand, to support them and uplift them in a way that is true to them and who they are. And I'm sure, Tara, you agree with that 100%. And I love to hear that from you.
Yeah, beautifully said. You're so eloquent in how you express yourself. I know that all the people listening are going to be really thankful hearing your perspective, because we can think and say that that's important, but when they actually hear from the horse's mouth, from the athlete, that this is the way it is, and you need to let me figure out what it is that I want to do. I don't want to be told what goals that I need to go after, and this is what I need to be supported. Everybody is different. You're absolutely right. You're so inspiring. And I always love listening to you. And even though we talk daily, I'm so inspired by you. Just so
It's
proud.
been really great. We're both proud of you. It's been really great to just hear. We had talked about doing some combos of mother-daughter or mother-son and just hearing from the athlete themselves and what an impact being a sports mom has made on them, not just being a mom, but like how they came alongside them. And that's the whole purpose of this podcast, is to lift up these moms behind the athletes. So I'm honored to have been able to lift up Tara in this episode and to hear from you, Leah, specifically how your mom is just a true gem, and that a lot of what you've been able to accomplish and a lot of just who you are at your core comes down to your mother and her being such a great sports mom for you. So I'm thankful. I've enjoyed this so much. I hope you both have enjoyed this talk as well.
Yes, thank you. I'm honored that you all had me on.
So before we close, Leah, can you just share with us how our listeners can keep up with you, how they can connect with you and follow you for more information or reach out?
The best place would be my Instagram at Leah Clapper.
Well, that's easy.
You can find everything linked from there as well. If you're looking for the gymnastics board game, I know we touched on that. It's shopshinecreative.com, but you can also find that from my Instagram. And same thing with NIL Island, nilisland.com. If there are any sports moms listening that have athletes who are getting close to being a college athlete or are college athletes and wondering about some resources for NIL, that is where you can find that. But no pressure, just, wanted to shout those things out.
No, love it. I love it. All right, at Leah Clapper on Instagram. Thank you so much. It's been such a joy.
Thank you again.
Thank you, sweetie. We're so glad you've joined us today. Thank you for listening. Upcoming episodes and show info can all be found at sportsmomrapport.com. If you've enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. We'd love to hear from you, so please reach out to us with any comments or if you or someone you know would like to share their story and connect with us.